Welcome to Red Pill Revolution. My name is Austin Adams. Red Pill Revolution started out with me realizing everything that I knew, everything that I believed, everything I interpret about my life is through the lens of the information I was spoon-fed as a child. Religion, politics, history, conspiracies, Hollywood, medicine, money, food, all of it. Everything we know was tactfully written to influence your decisions and your view on reality by those in power. Now, I'm on a mission to retrain and re-educate myself, to find the true reality of what is behind that curtain, and I'm taking your ass with me. Welcome to the revolution. Hello and welcome to Red Pill Revolution. My name is Austin Adams, and I'm so excited that you decided to listen in today. We have a crazy week unfold over the last several days here, whether it's the verdict that came in regarding our last podcast about the Rittenhouse trial. We have the verdict. Whether it's the hour-long interview that Tucker Carlson just moments ago finished up with Rittenhouse himself. Some really interesting unfolding information, some things that people have picked up on throughout the trial, breaking down the footage that may have you question the entire thing. All of that, plus we're going to talk about some breaking news updates in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, some things that just came out that we found out about the person who murdered Jeffrey Epstein, and we're going to talk about the horrific events that just unfolded within the last several day or so regarding the Wisconsin SUV incident, where a man ran an SUV through a parade of individuals at a Christmas parade in the horrific situation where 5 people have been since pronounced dead and 40 more are injured. So all of that today and more. But first, go ahead, and the next thing I need you to do before we get into any of that is go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know that you want to do that right now. Hit that subscribe button, and I need you to subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts right now, you could do something that would be so helpful to me, so helpful to Red Pill Revolution. And I need you to go click the ratings button and just give us a 5-star rating. That would mean so much to me. Feel free to write something. Feel free not to write something. Whatever works for you. But if you could leave that 5 stars, I would appreciate it so much. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button also. Go find us on Apple Podcasts. You can go to ichoose.red.com is for losers, ichoose.red, and you can subscribe to all of our channels there and even check out our new merchandise. And that's at redpillrevolution.co.com is for losers. All right, guys, let's get into it. The first things that we're going to talk about today is some unfolding situations regarding the Rittenhouse case. Tucker Carlson just got done interviewing, not just got done, but they just put out the interviews of the Kyle Rittenhouse immediately. Within 2 days of the trial, Rittenhouse is sitting down with Tucker Carlson and breaking down the case, breaking down his thoughts on some of the media situations and the unfair treatment that he had within the media, and a few other interesting things. So let's go ahead and run the first clip and see what it is that we're going to talk about first.
What did you make of the President of the United States calling you a white supremacist?
Mr. President, if I could say one thing to you, I would urge you to go back and watch the trial and understand the facts before you make a statement.
That's not a small thing to be called that.
No, it's actual malice, defaming my character for him to say something like that.
I mean, why do you think, and it's not simply Biden who said that, it's a lot of people on top.
So he just answered basically how he felt about the situation. And something you'll notice about Kyle throughout the entirety of the situation is just his composure. It's really impressive to me that at such a young age, in such heightened emotional situation, he's so calm The entire time, he's so calm. Even in this interview, 2 days after getting his verdict in, and I'm sure you know by now, but Kyle was found not guilty by 12 jury individuals. Unanimously decided he was not guilty after presiding and sitting around for 3 days coming up with that decision, asking the judge to relook over footage, doing so and coming to a conclusion on that third day that he was not guilty of all charges. Everything was dropped. And in a very dramatic account, Kyle drops to his knees after the fifth verdict is given and just crumbles. And I couldn't imagine myself being in that situation where your whole life is literally being decided in, 10 seconds where they gave those verdicts. So a truly spine-chilling account. You watch the people behind him react to that situation, and I just could not imagine and cannot imagine being in his situation. So now that we got that out of the way, he just basically reacted to the way that the president called him a white supremacist. I would have liked Tucker to go even further talking about Pizzasky going into the case the day before, not just a year prior, him stating about the white supremacy deal. But Kyle just says very plainly and very wisely, I just wish you would go back and watch the case, and I don't think that you would believe that. And again, for a 17-year-old, I know a few 17-year-old guys within my family, and I just can't see how anybody that age would be able to react this way. It's so interesting to me. So let's check the next clip.
Help make this better by holding some of these liars to account. Do you plan to do that?
I have really good lawyers who are taking care of that right now. So I'm hoping one day there will be accountability for their actions that they did.
Okay, so you're intent on you're not going to let that go.
Like I said, really good lawyers are handling that.
Yeah. So during the trial, was there ever a point where you thought, despite the fact you had all this video evidence on your side bolstering your story, did you ever think, I might go to jail for the rest of my life?
That was a thought I had every single day until I got the not guilty verdict.
Really?
It was because are you aware who Joellen Demetris is?
Yes.
So Joellen selected my jury, which she did an amazing job, but you still have that feeling in your stomach and not.
So the first thing that he just said there was, yes, absolutely, we're going to go after everybody who defamed my character, and did say that what President Biden says was malice against him and was defamation and could and will affect him in the future. And so he said, I have some very good lawyers who are going to be pursuing this. Luckily, and like I said last time, I can't wait till Rittenhouse is driving down Kenosha with an AR-15 and sitting passenger seat in his Lamborghini. I think I really just have a vivid mental picture of that. So I like he should, he's going to go after all these people. I think in something that I saw the other day was that legally he has the grounds specifically to go after the Biden family for him saying that, which would be an interesting situation. So through all of this, through the entire time, Kyle's always obviously said that he wanted to be a nurse or an EMT or something within the medical field. And now he's changed that opinion after winning this case and seeing what the actual ins and outs of this case were, that he wants to be a lawyer. It's like maybe he found what he liked, and he, the intensity of this, obviously didn't affect him very much. So he even wants to get into law at this point, which I think is really interesting. But obviously the way that he acted within that, the context of the situation, I really do think he could potentially be a great lawyer. And he obviously knew his the legal grounds enough for him to be able to defend himself in this situation. So interesting that he would say, I'm interested in being a lawyer, and I think that'd be pretty cool.
I've been looking into law. I may want to become a lawyer. I haven't completely decided yet.
So there he is, saying that he's going to be a lawyer. I think that's really interesting. Now, let's make a transition a little bit. Let's see if I have anything else for you into where it starts to get a little weird. So one thing that I noticed throughout this interview is that maybe 33% of the interview was regarding his legal team and representation prior to even, so to me, it's like there's an hour for him to be interviewing him. And there's so many things that he could have unpacked in these questions. And the way that this conversation went, 33%, I would say, I didn't take a calculator out and time it, but it seems a lot of this conversation had to do with his initial legal team. And I think that when we're talking about the perspective of keeping an open mind and realizing that, not only is there people being there to incite violence, but there's also situations where, let's just take a look and see.
The family was represented by a pair of lawyers called Lin Wood and John Pierce. This came up out of nowhere. We were not expecting to have this conversation at all. We were taken by surprise a little bit, but it's really interesting. Here's Kyle Rittenhouse's description of what his lawyers did to him.
That intro was a little disingenuous on Tucker's part. It's like, oh, and we had no idea that this was going to come up in this extremely important interview with the, biggest possible situation there's been in several years for a legal situation. So for him to go, we had no idea that this topic would even be discussed, it just sounds so disingenuous. And let's watch the rest of it regarding what that actually was. So just keep that in mind.
So you get arrested. What happens then?
Once I'm arrested, I go to Depke Juvenile Facility, and I gotta say thank you to them for their professionalism. And
the jailers,
the guards at Depke, they were the utmost professional people I've ever met.
Really?
Exactly. They were some of the most professional people I've ever met. It was amazing. Like, they treated me with respect, and they didn't talk down to you like you've seen in some videos. They just treated me like I was a human.
How long were you there?
I was in jail for 87 days, and this follows in with Lin Wood, Lin Wood was raising money on my behalf, and he held me in jail for 87 days, disrespected my wishes, put me on media interviews, which I should never have done, which he said, oh, you're going to go talk to the Washington Post, which was not a good idea. Along with John Pierce, they said I was safer in jail instead of at home with my family. And then after I'm bailed
Your lawyer said that?
My lawyer said that. John Pierce and Lin Wood.
So I think it's interesting where that started. He goes, how long were you in jail for? He goes, I was in jail for 87 days. And that follows right in line with the Lin Wood situation, and then goes on to talk about his legal team. So the direct response and segue was from, how many days in jail were you? Or how many days were you in jail? And he goes, I was in jail for 87 days, and then immediately transitions to his legal team for no specific reason. Now, I know there's been talk about, they basically got a bunch of money and donations based on the Rittenhouse situation, and under the guise that it was going to be given to Rittenhouse in some way or another, and then they didn't give him that money somehow. But let's see what he continues to say about this.
87 days is a long time to be in jail.
It was very long. I lost a lot of weight in there. I since then gained it back.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. But 87 days of not being with my family, for defending myself and being taken advantage to, being used for a cause by John Pierce and Lin Wood, trying to trying to raise money so they can take it for their own benefit, not trying to set me free.
So you think they could have raised the money for bail faster, but they didn't? I believe sometime in September 5th, I want to say, they had over $1 million, and bail was set and able to be posted in September. So they could have had me sign the waiver for extradition and had me back in Wisconsin, and I could have been bailed out by mid-September. But they wanted to keep me in jail until November 20th.
So another interesting thing I think about that is, how many times did he say those lawyers' names specifically? And he knew that he was, Kyle's a smart guy, but he knew what he was doing there. And he wanted you to remember those names, right? He wanted you to hear those names 3, 4, 5 times or so that he mentioned that throughout that quick little portion of the interview, where he wants you to remember that, right? So it's like, why is so much time being given to these individuals on the single largest interview of some would argue one of the largest news primetime interviews there's been in a very long time right here. And so much of it was given to these lawyers. Now, whether that was intentional by Kyle, whether that was intentional by Fox, whether that was intentional by the powers that be that are sitting here pulling the strings in these situations to incite this violence and to, sway the verdicts, or to, give an opinion by our, White House press secretary the day before the verdict is given out to sway the opinions, wherever this is coming from, this looks like a hit on Lin Wood and Pierce. And it seems weird, and I'm not all too deeply familiar, but one thing I do know is that Pierce and Lin Wood are deeply tied into the Trump administration, deeply tied into some of the bigger ideas that are out there regarding where this could be going in the future. And Pierce himself is actually taken on several of the January 6th insurrectionists as his legal team. So it's an interesting correlation between the timing of this, the timing of that, and whether or not there's any purpose behind how do you get a immediate interview, the largest interview for a primetime news station could have had in a very long time. And so much energy is given to this topic. So much energy. And nobody cares, honestly. Nobody cares about this situation. But Kyle specifically mentions and says their names. And I'm somebody who comes from a sales background, and I taught people how to speak and to pick up on when somebody is thinking while they're talking, or purposefully interjecting an idea into the conversation because they want a specific outcome from it, or because they want to spin the conversation a certain way, or your idea of the conversation a certain way. So I noticed that split second in Kyle before he has to think to say their names so that you remember those names. So think of that.
He's been after me for a year. Every issue that comes up, David Hancock attacks me with lies. So I think that Kyle is being used for David Hancock's agenda, and David Hancock is a CIA asset.
And we'll watch another thing, which I find to be one of the most interesting parts of this entire thing, which crumbles potentially the house of cards of this even being a real case in the first place. So, and again, I'm going to come from this from a hyperlogical perspective, but it's crazy not to recognize what happened. So I came across a clip of the prosecutor sitting at his podium speaking, and during the actual cross-examination of Kyle Rittenhouse. And if you go to the NBC Chicago YouTube page, look for, the title is this: Full Video, Prosecutors Cross-Examine Kyle Rittenhouse. It's a 3-hour video. And at 19 minutes, in 20 seconds, you're going to see something that could shatter the entire reality of this case and could potentially make you believe that this entire thing was a setup to begin with. And you push that behind the purposeful discussion that was just had regarding the legal team initially and who those people are tied into, and it really starts to get interesting. So let's watch this clip, because to me, this could shatter a ridiculous amount of ridiculously large house of cards in our media and in these psychological operations that have happened for decades within our country, and we're just starting to wake up to. So watch this clip right here and see if you see what I see. And if you're not here or watching on the YouTube page or on Rumble, what we're looking at is the prosecution standing at this podium, and there's the doorways. You see the flooring right behind him, and somebody walks out the door. As soon as somebody walks and opens up the door to the actual courtroom, another individual, who's I would assume is the security, walks around the actual, like, almost church pews that are sitting there, and play.
Would hit in March.
Yes.
And you had only started working at the Recplex on August 14th, correct?
I believe I got hired before.
Did you see it? Did you see it? So let's go back. And I want you to focus on the guy on the left hand of the window. The guy walks around the corner here.
And you had only started.
Guy walks out of the door.
Recplex
Somebody
on
walks
August
next to him, and all we
14th,
can see is the left-hand side. And there's one step. He goes to pick up his second foot. Clear as day.
I believe
And the second foot is gone. Gone. There's no logical reasoning behind the fact that this guy's foot is gone from the video here. Unless there's a green screen being implemented and some type of like chromatic visual effects being put onto this and hyper or superimposed behind this prosecutor. There's no reason. Let's go back again, because you'll see this guy walk around the church pews. You'll see him walk right there, take his first step, foot touches the ground. Second step, foot is gone. No foot. No foot at all. Okay, so this is November 11th that this comes out, okay?
Working at the Recplex.
And that's important because we're going to get to something else in a second. The day before this, okay, that plays into this, okay? Walks around the corner. I'm going to show it to you one more time.
Correct.
Steps 1 foot, 2 foot,
I believe
third step. His foot's gone, like it was behind a green screen. No logical reasoning for this being to happen, and I understand this somewhat because you've seen the video editing I do and somewhat know what I'm doing, and it took a good amount of research to figure that out. But there's no reasoning from like a videography perspective unless there is some sort of green screen and some sort of superimposed visual being put there that his foot is gone. You can no longer see this security guard's foot. So there had to be a box there or something raised that his foot fell behind that had some sort of green screen there, so you no longer see his actual foot. One last time.
Started working at the Recplex on August 14th.
Walks out,
correct?
step,
I believe
gone.
I got hired.
And immediately as that happened, they change the camera angle.
On August 14th. Correct?
Step,
I believe
third time, and his foot's gone. Invisible, like fucking Harry Potter's invisibility shoe. And it's gone. Like fucking magic. There's no reasoning that should happen. Absolutely zero reasoning from a videography perspective that his foot should be just out of the scene here. Okay? Now, where this gets a little bit more interesting is when you tie this into the day before the White House pushed out a picture of Biden, and I'm sure you may have heard this one by now, and maybe just didn't connect the two. But if we go to the White House's Instagram page, which was a picture that was sent out the day before that live video of Kyle Rittenhouse being cross-examined, you see a picture of Biden walking across the White House lawn, and as soon as you zoom in, the house of cards crumbles. His foot is gone. No shoe. His right foot even, or his right foot is gone at the toe. As if he has no foot there. There's a picture of Biden walking across the lawn of what looks to be like either the White House lawn or somewhere. And in the picture, his foot is just gone. His shoe is gone. And this is the day before the trial. The day before, the day before that video, the live video of Kyle Rittenhouse and the prosecutor talking, and behind him, that security guard's foot being eliminated from the scene in the very exact same manner that it is, like just like it's a green screen here. Okay? Again, if you are on the White House social media team, or you are the videographer for Chicago MSNBC, or where that clip came from, you know what you're doing. You've been doing this for a very long time, or at least long enough to get yourself in a position to take that spot. And you know what you're doing. More than I know what I'm doing. And this would never happen in the video that I'm editing. This would never happen in the picture that I take. Their feet are gone. And this is the day before and the day after this happens. Coincidence? Probably fucking not. No way. That makes no sense. The likelihood that Biden drops a picture, the White House drops a picture of Biden's foot gone, and the only little clue that's left, the only little nugget of information that we have that could shatter the house of cards of this Rittenhouse trial, potentially being some sort of green screen in the background where his foot goes out of that shot, that scene there, like that, in that manner, could completely shatter the ideas that we have regarding this case, regarding the, almost idolization of Kyle Rittenhouse. And then 2 days after that, he comes out and is speaking on these lawyers and this legal team who's deeply intertwined to the upcoming legal battle regarding January 6th. It's a really interesting correlation between these situations. The likelihood that, and I'm not fully seeing the whole picture yet, and so it'll take probably a little bit for us to figure this out, but the likelihood that the president has a picture that comes out the day before the video and they're both shoeless in the same exact manner, in the same exact videography and photography blunders on such wide scales is, find me another picture, and I'll completely disregard this theory. Find me another picture of any president where they're walking and the foot's gone. The foot just disappears. That would tell me there's a logical explanation where this has happened before, and I'll disregard this theory. Find me any jury footage. Find me any footage at all from within a courtroom where somebody's foot, the bailiff, is walking down the center and his foot is gone from the video. Find me that. Just find me that. That's all I want you to do. Find me one of those clips, and I will completely disregard this theory. But until you do that, this Rittenhouse situation is getting fucking weird. Getting a little weird. So, what could that even mean? Right? And then you get to these interviews, and all he wants to talk about, a good portion of what he talks about is the legal team. Lin Wood and Pierce. And both of those are deeply, deeply intertwined into this like deep state mentality and the legal team around Trump, and we'll get into more later. But for now, I think that's enough. It should pique your interest that there's an intersection there. And then that picture from the White House and the video from Rittenhouse's case. So it all makes too much sense, right? The publicity around this case, why there's so much going on, why it's the single court case that was so publicized of any court case I can recall, right? Why is there so much publicity surrounding this? And if you understand and you think that these things have happened to push the narratives of the left, you have to understand that it has to come from the right too. This isn't a one-sided road. Everybody's looking to sway your opinion. Everybody's looking to manipulate you. Everybody wants you to think whatever their narrative is the right one. And so you have to pull yourself out of that and say, you know, what information am I being given? And where are the threads that I could pull on a little bit? So pull on those threads. Go watch that video because it really changed my idea of what this whole situation could have been. And, you know, it's hard to see. It would be hard to comprehend the idea of the right or the left or whoever is in power, right? The people who are normally, you know, funding Soros and the people that are funding the Black Lives Matters and the Rothschilds families and the people that are pulling these strings. You would be hard to picture them allowing a win for self-defense and gun rights. But if they did it under the purpose that there was a deeper intention behind the idea, right? And so, and this one gets a little bit deeper, and I saw some things come up, and I'm only going to mention this. I don't believe this, honestly. I don't believe this, but I saw pictures correlating between one of the Sandy Hook victims that looked similar to what Kyle could have looked like at that age. And, you know, I see how that could just be completely disrespectful to the situation in both manners. So I don't believe that, but it's something to think about, right? You got to take yourself out of these situations and take the jersey off. You're not team red. You're not team blue. You're not team left. You're not team right. You're not team Trump. You're not team Biden. Fuck all of that. Make a decision for yourself. Figure these things out and pull on those strings, because if this Rittenhouse situation looks so much crazier after I just watched that video, and it may sway you to think the same because it makes no sense. And so here's my thought is maybe there's a reason behind why if this was some deep state psychological acting with green screens and the whole nine, and this entire thing was built on a house of cards. And the one thing that were dropped little nuggets of is the elimination of Biden's foot in this picture, and then the very next day, for a split second within this trial, the green screen on a live feed, the bailiff's foot is gone from the picture for a second before they change scenes. Something weird. So, again, there's a crazy thing going around about, potentially him being a crisis actor and, it being all a setup from then, and he's coming back now as Kyle Rittenhouse. It's a little far-fetched for me. But, pull on the strings, see where they take you. I don't believe that one. But, so where would this all go, and why would they want to do that? And I think, obviously, furthering the divisiveness between the left and the right is a great answer for that. I think that stoking the flames and hoping for more riots, right? I think that maybe he knew that maybe Rittenhouse isn't in on it, and this isn't a green screen, and somehow the camera just completely fucked up, super weird way, and Biden posted this picture, and the person had no idea, and the correlation is just crazy. But let's say that, and Rittenhouse wasn't a part of this, and they wanted to manipulate him because his initial legal team was, Lin Wood and Pierce, and they wanted to take those guys down, and now they basically go on a smear campaign on Tucker Carlson 2 days after the situation. And so there's a couple actual clips that we want to watch here that I want you to notice Kyle Rittenhouse's demeanor. And I think that's something that came as a theme, is like, you watch Kyle Rittenhouse and there's no reason. I talked about it at the beginning of this. It's like, he's so calm and so, like, his answers were well thought out, and he like held his composure through all of this really, really well. And if this is all bullshit and all of these things were weird, just happenstances, I'm impressed with Kyle, and more power to him for protecting himself as he should in this situation. I 100% believe this was self-defense, but I also believe that there's some weird shit going on. So watch his demeanor when he's asked these questions. Just like you should watch the situation where he brings up their names 3-4 times, and you can see him thinking about remembering that he should bring up their names, right? But let's go back and let's watch a little bit here where he talks about why he's so calm. Which is a good question by Tucker Carlson.
But before we do that, I need you to do this one little thing for me. I need you to like and subscribe to this channel. I need you to share this to whoever you know. And I need you to go to ichoose.red. .com is for losers. ichoose.red. And sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to be keeping you guys updated. I'm going to be pushing out all of the articles that I referenced there. I'm going to be putting out a weekly newsletter about the topics that we discuss, and it will keep you updated moving forward. I appreciate you guys so much. Like, subscribe, share. Let's start this revolution together.
Why are you so calm?
I'm a naturally calm person. I find it to be a problem when people are overreacting, because things are out of our control. So I try not to deal with that.
Huh. I mean, just for the...
Believe me, on the inside, I'm freaking out.
Well, you must be. I mean, for the record, you just got acquitted.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I noticed, that you seem very calm. You don't seem like someone who's just been through had his mind blown.
Yeah, on the inside I'm freaking out, but the best thing you can do, you freak out, everybody else freaks out. It's like a chain reaction.
Yes.
So the best thing I can do is stay calm.
Do you feel like you've been watched over?
I believe God's been on my side through the beginning.
So interesting. He looks super calm. And this is 2 days after. If I go through a murder trial and I get acquitted for, rightfully defending myself against 3 people who threatened me and tried to kill me, first of all, I'm not going on a fucking interview in 2 days after, 48 hours after. 48 after his verdict is not guilty, and he gets to go home knowing full well that he's not going to spend the rest of his life in jail. And he's doing a Tucker Carlson interview. Not only that, but within that Tucker Carlson interview, he looks as composed as somebody that you were interviewing about the way that they mow their lawn. He looks like he's not even talking about he murdered 3 people as self-defense. And technically not murder, right? Self-defense. But he had to defend his own life against these people. And now he's 48 hours later, you're sitting on Tucker Carlson talking about this defense. And you're just, I'm just a super calm guy. Cool as a cucumber. And, Shot a couple guys. They were trying to kill me. One, tried to grab my rifle. Another one hit me with a rock. Another one hit me with a skateboard. But, I just try to keep a positive disposition. So that's weird. It's like, if you're... It looks weird to me. It's like, again, I'm pretty good at picking up on people's emotions, and he looks like he's acting a bit. And again, maybe you're acting because you're on Tucker Carlson 48 hours after getting a not guilty verdict, and you still have to act, right? They're still giving you questions and prompting you, and you're probably talking to lawyers and all this stuff, but he looks like he's got a separate layer of thought going in his consciousness while he's speaking to Tucker and thinking, what should I be saying next? How should I be framing it? Should I mention their name again specifically for those lawyers, right? And so it's weird. And you start to dissect him, how calm he was throughout the trial. And I'm just saying, look into it, pull those strings. It is quite interesting how calm that he was throughout that interview. And there's no way, like I said, there's no way you're interviewing me 48 hours after I get acquitted for self-defense on 3 people who I shot with a rifle. And, maybe that just speaks again to his character and how calm he is and how much, how just his character, even being a good dude or something. But it just seems crazy to me. It seems crazy in the likelihood that you're going to find somebody in this specific situation who's so capable and ready to handle this situation. The interviews with Tucker Carlson and getting acquitted and, just all of this stuff in the manner that he has is so interesting. So look into it. Read on it. We're going to move on. So this is unbelievable. This is a crazy breaking situation that happened within the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Something that was just found out by an account called Real News No Bullshit, and I saw it from their feed, and I'm pretty sure they're the ones that came out with this information specifically, and they dove into it, and I saw that they spent 176 hours basically putting time in to pull this information out of the trials itself. And so what they found was that 10 days after the cellmate, who allegedly was with Epstein at the time that he hung himself, apparently didn't strangle him, but had a broken trachea, or, signs of strangulation, but apparently killed himself with a shirt in his cell. According to this, 10 days after Epstein died, he changed his legal team to the Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team. He switched his lawyers from his lawyers to the same lawyers as Ghislaine Maxwell's. And this guy was he was a cop. A very, very juiced up, steroided out cop, mind you. But there's no way he has money. These guys charge $1,500 an hour upwards. He does not have the money to be able, and how specific is that you end up getting the exact lawyer of the handler of the cellmate who you were just with that killed himself? No way. So here, this is the situation. This is what they said. So here he is. Here's the very, very steroided out police officer. And here's the piece of shit garbage of humanity, Jeffrey Epstein. And it says, breaking news. Bring this a little closer. It says, breaking news, Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. After beginning our investigation from the ground up, our team has uncovered that Jeffrey Epstein's last cellmate at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan shares the same lawyer as Ghislaine Maxwell. Nicholas Tegrelian, the former cellmate of Jeffrey Epstein, retains Bobby Sternheim. Mrs. Sternheim is also the lead attorney on Ghislaine Maxwell's case. Interestingly enough, Tegrelian dismissed his last legal team and hired Sternheim on August 21st of 2019, 10 days after Epstein was found dead in his jail cell. Tegrelian, a former Westchester County police officer, was serving time for murdering 4 people during a drug deal. Epstein and Tegrelian became cellmates, which is well documented in the press. Interestingly, to point out, we called the law firm that Bobby Sternheim works for, Fasulo, Braverman, and DiMaggio LLP, inquiring about hourly rates as a prospective client. We were told that their rates start at $450 to $1,500 an hour, depending on the lawyer. A rate for Mrs. Sternheim was not disclosed to us. Outlets across the spectrum detail that Tegrelian reportedly tried to prevent Epstein from hanging himself once. We have attached court documents that show this occurred. We have also attached a link where you can see the lawyer switch up. So that's at courtlistener.com/docket/702-9100/United-States-V-Tartaglione, Tartaglione/. If you know how to pronounce that name, let me know. I'd love to correct this because that's a tough one. Says we are going from the ground up. More to come. We are posting our findings in segments. So again, this is real news, no bullshit. This is on Instagram. What a crazy, crazy bombshell of a finding by this small news corporation. Go give them a follow. That's truly, and they said that they're doing drops every so often of what they found by diving deep into this. And this is a huge one. And this should be on every news outlet in the country tomorrow. And if it's not, you know why. So he switched his legal team 10 days after he more than likely murdered Jeffrey Epstein, the biggest sex trafficking piece of shit in humanity's history, who killed himself, but this guy fucking murdered him in his jail cell, more than likely for the powers that are behind Ghislaine Maxwell to get rid of him, and then hired the same legal team that she has 10 days after he murders Epstein. Or Epstein kills himself, whatever you want to think. What is the likelihood of that? And what are the implications of this? What does this mean? It means there's obvious ties between this man who was in the cell at the time that Jeffrey Epstein hung himself. There's obvious ties, deep ties between him and Ghislaine Maxwell. There's no likelihood that they find the same lawyers. There's no likelihood he can afford her lawyers. No likelihood at all. This guy looks like he can barely afford anything besides the trenbolone and the wife beater on his back. Oh, he's got a couple dogs, so he's got to feed them too. But there's no way this guy has the money to hire her legal team. Unbelievable breaking situation. And I will be so interested to see how this gets reported, if it gets reported at all. So go check that out. Real news, no bullshit on Instagram. And give them a follow because that's truly great reporting. Really, really excited to see the other things that they come out with because the implications of this could be tremendous. And so another thing that I want to get into is a list that I've been seeing circulating, and I don't know exactly what this list is about. But according to this and what I've read so far and the limited amount of information that I've gotten into this is basically that there has been a list of her co-conspirators that was basically given out in September. And so you can find this directly on the government's website under IA801807.us.archive.org and then a bunch of other stuff. I'll link it in the description here. But basically, according to what I've read online, this is a list of co-conspirators. So people that she has named or were named on her behalf that were a part in some way with the trafficking and the Jeffrey Epstein case and her case as well of grooming these young women to become atrociously taken advantage of by celebrities and Hollywood and the elite. And so let me go down this list so that you can see what I'm seeing. The 1953 Trust is named first. These are just people named within this legal proceeding. His trust is basically where he said all of his money is to go. And there's interesting correlations between the 1953 Trust, where after Epstein dies, his money is supposed to go. And according to some things that I read, there is ties between that and potentially Bill Gates and a lot of other people who had, but it's very hard to find what the investors were in that trust. But there's a string to pull on. Harvey Weinstein, Sean Carter, Doreen Dyke, Richard Kahn, the Weinstein Corporation, Miramax Films, the Walt Disney Company. The Walt Disney Company is named as a co-conspirator in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. That is crazy. That is so alarming coming from a parent's perspective, the fact that that's even on this piece of paper, this legal document in the U.S. archives. Def Jam Records, Rock Nation, Universal Music Group, Beyonce Knowles, right alongside Kanye West, Terrence Thornton, Black Cube Limited, Vivendi, Dwayne Carter, so Lil Wayne, Young Money Entertainment, Lil Wayne's company, Good Music, Shelly Smith, let me give you some more names that I'm familiar with, Sprint Corporation, Viacom CBS, Virgil Abloh, then Ghislaine Maxwell, the City of New York Police Department, Sony Entertainment, are all among the listed names in the co-conspirators of the Ghislaine Maxwell case. So, we'll see what's to come of that. I don't know exactly what to pull from that information, but this is a U.S. document filed in August of 2020, right around the time this was all really coming to light. And we'll see what comes out in these court proceedings, because I am going to be deep, balls deep in all of it, giving you guys the information on this case, because I think that obviously this is way more important than the single case that was done with Kyle Rittenhouse to show that, yeah, of course we have our fucking right to defend ourselves. Let's put some focus on the single largest sex trafficking ring that has Walt Disney, Harvey Weinstein, Beyonce listed in as co-conspirators. How about we get into that? How about we give some focus on that? How about we get some live TV cameras in? Even if there's a green screen in the background, I don't give a shit. Get some cameras in this case, because this is the single largest case that could open up the doors to what is and what has been the utilization of young women to be taken advantage of by people in positions of power in Hollywood, by positions of power in media corporations, by positions in power in finance, in politics, in international frickin' trade. Like, so many people are involved in this. Walt Disney, Beyonce. Let's have a conversation about that, because the fact that these names are even in here and where this case could potentially go is unbelievable. And I personally would do everything in my power to make sure, and I'm sure a lot of other people agree, that this piece of shit gets put behind bars for an extremely long period of time with Ghislaine Maxwell. And if you don't know the background of Ghislaine Maxwell, and you don't know the background of her family and the CIA ties from her father and her sister, who started one of the very first widely used search engines, which her and her sister, Ghislaine Maxwell and her sister, made over $100 million from the deal of when they sold it during the dot-com boom. And then, like I said, the ties between her father and the CIA. So there's an idea that, if you're not as familiar in this world, is that Ghislaine Maxwell was the CIA or the handler of Jeffrey Epstein. And what we know for sure is that she helped Jeffrey Epstein by grooming these young women. She was his madam who would go around and basically groom these young women and put them in positions where they were, obviously unbelievably taken advantage of in disgusting ways. And that she would handle Jeffrey Epstein and make sure, as his handler, that he didn't step out of line, and that they would use these young women as, in the video footage that they would find of these people in these precarious situations, like Prince Andrew, like Clinton, like literally is an endless list of celebrities and politicians who went to this island. But the idea is that basically they had video footage of all these people engaging in these horrendous acts, and as a result of that, they have the ultimate blackmail on you now. Okay, so think about it. In our society today, the person that people look down on the most in society is a pedophile, and they should, because they're garbage human beings. And so if you have documented proof that somebody is a pedophile, within the act, their entire life is ruined. Everything they have, everything they stand for, and it should, because they're garbage, but they lose it all. They lose everything. They lose all credibility. They are now the lowest of the low, scum of the universe, and they should be, for engaging in these acts. But if you have that blackmail, you have the ultimate blackmail. And so the idea is that Ghislaine Maxwell would handle Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein had a very large, very affluent network of individuals that he would utilize and basically create blackmail to use against people like Prince Andrew, against people like Bill Clinton, against people like all of the celebrities that were found on this island. And let me see if I can even pull up a list of that. So let's look up Epstein Island. So let's see who they are. Jeffrey Epstein flight list. So who we have is Prince Andrew, for one. Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously. Bill Clinton had 26 trips on the Lolita Express between 2001 and 2003. And if you don't know what the Lolita term comes from, thank you for all of you who blessed me. If you don't know where the term Lolita comes from, it comes from a movie in the past, before my time even, where it was about some underage girl and some love affair, I believe. And that's where the term Lolita comes from. And that's where even the term is used for like child pornography it's used the word Lolita, like underage girl is basically the term that means. And he had this motherfucker had the balls to call his plane the Lolita Express, just rubbing your face in it. So anyways, 26 times Bill Clinton was on this flight between 2001 and 2003. Kevin Spacey was on the list in 2002. Naomi Campbell, Chris Tucker, Alan Dershowitz, surprise, surprise, and many others. Those are the main ones that they list there, though. Obviously, Prince Andrews is a huge problem. But that should not surprise you knowing the past of the royal family. Let's move on. So, crazy situation of what this could potentially turn into with this case. And even just that breaking information just now about the jail cellmate. Unbelievable, and what the implications of that could be within the trial, and what the implications of that could be within the idea of the general public accepting the fact that this could have even come close to being a suicide if 10 days later he takes on the legal team of Ghislaine Maxwell. All right, so the last thing that we're going to talk about here is going to be the terrible situation that happened in Wisconsin. And so there's the footage out there, and we can watch some of that. But first, I just want to talk about it because it was an unbelievably terrible, horrific situation. There was a Christmas parade, and a man, many news publications reported that he was fleeing the scene of a crime, and the police refuted that and said that's not what happened. So this man in his SUV, a red SUV, and this is within a reasonable amount of distance from Kenosha. It's not that far from my understanding. Drives through this parade, this Christmas parade of young women and old women and folks. And, think of your parade. Think of the band playing and the cheerleaders and everybody is smiling and having fun and throwing candy. And this red SUV comes screaming through the audience and the parade. Looked like 25, 35, 40 miles per hour at one point, and just horrifically mows down a large group of people. As of right now, 5 are pronounced dead. 40 others are injured, and they do know who this individual is. And so, from my understanding, the internet found this person's picture within his car, and they confirmed who it was because you can go onto Google and find this guy's name, and you can find his address, and then you can find the Google picture of his home, and you can see very clearly this car is parked immediately in front of it. So, let's go ahead and look up a little bit of information about that. All right, so this is Black Lives Matter activist Vaughn Mays suggested that the Waukesha, Wisconsin incident that killed 5 people Sunday evening, may have been the reaction to the Rittenhouse verdict. Police arrested suspect Darrell E. Brooks early Monday after he allegedly, so Darrell Brooks was the person who did this, plowed through a crowd at the Waukesha Christmas parade in the red SUV that left 5 people dead and more than 40 injured. Mays arrived at the scene early Monday, giving his own account of what he witnessed on a Facebook livestream in the aftermath of the incident in the video. Mays said an anonymous source made claims that Brooks drove through the crowd as retribution for Rittenhouse's trial. And so, this individual is a part of Black Lives Matter. And think of it like this: if there was some type of terrorist act, and this is a act of terror, this is a terrorist, this is a terrorist act. If this person was doing this in response to Afghanistan and us pulling out of there, and this happened right after here, and ISIS was a part of it, it's like they mowed down 5 people in a parade. That's an act of terror. There's no other thing to say about this than it being an act of terror. So he says, it's a Black Lives Matter thing, activist Vaughn Mays at Young LZ, YUNGLZ, if you're on Twitter and want to find his stupid ass, at the scene of the Waukesha parade attack. It sounds like the revolution has started. He mentions hearing from a source who believes Darrell Brooks may have been motivated by the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict.
I don't know. Now, we'll have to wait and see, because they do have somebody in custody. We may have to wait and see what they say about why this happened. But it sounds like possible that the revolution has started in Wisconsin, starting with this Christmas parade. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's something I'm missing, but I said I wasn't going to speak on the rumors. Y'all are repeating some of the stuff that, that has come up. And I did tell you that the initial person who reached out to me said that they believe that this has to do with the verdict. And so I made an assumption of which side it would be from, but I don't know. Sounds like somebody, multiple people, and I don't know. That's why I'm not going to repeat it or speak.
Okay. So he's backtracking a lot there. You can see that. But one thing that's super concerning to me is him going on there and saying the revolution has started. Like the fucking revolution means mowing down a bunch of young children and elderly folks at a fucking Christmas parade, you garbage individual. The revolution, that's the start of a revolution, is obliterating the lives of 5 innocent people at a Christmas parade with children and elderly folks present. So he is claiming to be a part of Black Lives Matter, and has at this point claimed that this was a retribution, or the revolution is started as a result of this person committing this atrocious act against small children and elderly folks. However, there's also talk with the individual who actually did do that, who was arrested for doing this. Let's see if we can find him. So, this is from The Sun. And it says, chilling lyrics, Waukesha parade suspect Darrell Brooks wrote anti-Trump rap and declared, fuck the pigs, before rampage. So it says, the suspect in the Christmas parade rampage that killed 5 revelers wrote an anti-Trump rap and declared, fuck the pigs, according to the song posted online. Aspiring rapper Darrell Brooks, 39, who performed under his name Math Boy Fly, the fucking stupid name for a rapper, Math Boy Fly, also shared songs about killing on his YouTube channel and SoundCloud pages. Brooks is facing 5 charges of intentional homicide, Waukesha's police chief confirmed on Monday. One of his songs included the lyrics, they are gonna need a cleaner for the shit we did. All my killers Gacy, where them bodies hid. Another song from SoundCloud page says, sliding through the city with no safety on. Other lyrics, fuck Donald Trump and fuck the pigs. He also posted a video on his Twitter accounts ranting about the speech that he made about then President Barack Obama, which he called a crock of bullshit. And he raps about AK-47's lyric show with a playlist. All right, cool. So, sounds like he's a shitty rapper who wanted to act tough. But let's listen to these lyrics in the anti-Trump rap and see if it's enough cause for him to go do this horrific act.
This that Malcolm X shit, revolutionary. This for my in the can, eating commissary. For every ghetto in America, I know they wait. This that Donald Trump flow, and whoever this street. Just like Malcolm. This for the hood. It's in our blood. Yeah, this for us. I got that AK-47 just like Malcolm. These devils try to take me down, bet they coming with them. Police is tripping, around and be a shooting victim. I keep it on me, I kill one for show, I kill the witness. So a pig and the judge, that's how I'ma live it. Man, we was asking for too long, now they gotta give it.
All right, so one thing we can conclude is he's a garbage ass rapper who has no business thinking he can continue that nonsense here. So what I don't know. Take out of that, one thing I could take out of that is he said something about Malcolm X, and traditionally the idea of Malcolm X is the violent half of Gain for Equality, but I don't know if you can take a song like that. I don't think you take that at face value. It's some dude trying to act tough and saying fuck Donald Trump, which is probably on a million rap songs. But the sentiment's there, right? And I don't see, if he's not fleeing from a scene of something, why would you? There's nothing urgent enough for him to be going through that audience that way. And so the only thing that you can expect, and the fact that the media now has been just silent on this idea that it could be retribution or the start of the revolution, according to this Black Lives Matter person, is just silent. There's no possible way. Like the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse is white and shoots 3 other white people is all of a sudden a race war happening. But 2 days after that, within miles of Kenosha, a black individual runs over a parade of seemingly mostly white individuals, murdering 5 in a horrific act of terrorism, and just silent, and misreporting that he was running from the police, trying to in some way shape the narrative or cover this up on his behalf, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit their narrative. It doesn't fit what they want you to view the Black Lives Matter movement as. And that was something interesting about the Rittenhouse stuff, is Rittenhouse did actually say something positive about Black Lives Matter, which, between, he's a young kid. He probably doesn't know all the implications of that statement, or like the deep-seated, communistic, totalitarian belief systems that they hold and what they're trying to actually move us towards. It's like very few people you'll ever come across in your life disagree with the sentiment of that statement, right? Of course, Black Lives Matter. But, maybe you don't want to associate with a group that's calling for communism in the United States. Just a thought. But I think that's what we got, guys. I think it was, I think we'll see more unfold on this situation. And I think it was a horrific event. And was it the start of the revolution for Black Lives Matter? Was it a racially motivated terrorism attack? It seems like it, right? It seems like it. The likelihood that this act happens in Wisconsin within days by somebody who's associating with Black Lives Matter is just very low. And so if that's what it was, this guy should rot in hell, and I'm sure he will anyways. And I guess we'll see more information as time goes on. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really interesting updates here. Let me know, man. Like if anything rang true to you today, if that Kyle Rittenhouse shoe situation just crumbled a house of cards for what that could have been, or maybe you found that clip of of a different situation where that happened previously in a legal court proceeding, or of another president without a foot. You let me know, because I'm really interested. But I don't think that's the case. I think that I don't know what to think now about the case. That shit really fucked me up when I saw it. And then correlation between, the same thing happening in the presidential photo the day before, and you're telling me that's not just a little couple clues being dropped during all of this by somebody that's deep in this game and is playing 3D chess with these people. I don't know. But it really, really is an interesting conversation to be had. And if you have a better explanation, and maybe you know more about videography than I do, let me know too. If you think that that's just a glitch, I don't know. You guys let me know. Let me know what you think about the Ghislaine Maxwell situation. The fact that his cellmate hired her legal team 10 days after her lover dies in the cell next to him. It makes no sense. And then on top of that, what's going on with the situation with the parade? Is it retribution? Is it the revolution on Black Lives Matter part? Is it an act of terror, or is it some guy running from the cops, which I'm pretty sure we already know was not the case. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been another great update for you guys, Red Pill Revolution. Go ahead, like this channel, right? Subscribe, send it to a couple friends. If you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. It would mean the world to me. Also, we got a few other things. If you want to donate, you can donate to the revolution. I'm here with a $100 microphone, and I spend tons of time on this, guys. So if you can find it, in your heart to donate to this, if you think I'm doing something special here and you want to see it continue and get better over time, which I only plan on getting better. Please go to givesendgo.com/redpillrevolution. Even $1 helps. If I had $1 from everybody who watches this, it would just be so encouraging and allow me to get some better technology to make this better for you guys. So again, Red Pill Revolution. So it's givesendgo.com/redpillrevolution. And then you can also go to redpillrevolution.co and check out our merchandise. We have the Misinformation Mafia shirts. I think those are sick. And if I was watching somebody's podcast and they had that, I would have bought that shit already. So go check it out. redpillrevolution.co. Subscribe here, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're going to be starting the newsletter soon. So go to ichoose.red and leave me your email. It asks for your phone number too, which is cool because then we can start doing some other updates that way. But for right now, just go give me your email and I'd love to get you guys signed up. We're going to be dropping the links, dropping a little bit more details about the conversations that we're having. And that's all I got. Thank you guys so much. I hope you're having a great day. Let me know your thoughts and welcome to the revolution.